We're going to continue working on the rims here. So we're just going to take a quick look at our reference again and try to fill in these areas we haven't filled in yet and make some changes that we think are necessary. So looking at this, we can see that this this area here, at least in comparison to these other two colors, is a bit brighter than these other two colors. So we're going to want to make this a nice bright color, and we're going to want to add in sort of a strip around the outside. I did it kind of like not exactly on the outside, like I messed around with this a little and came up with something like this, and it looks okay having it like not all the way to the outside, so maybe we'll do that. You don't always have to follow the reference perfectly, especially with stuff like this that's more stylized and like low poly. It's not really intended to be 100% accurate. You just want to go with your gut feeling and try to make something that looks nice. So we have this lighter color, and that's what we're gonna work on for this area here. And to do that, we already have basically the outline for this area, so we can almost use the bucket fill to do it. But first we need to close off this other area. So I'm going to go to the path tool and zoom in with the plus key on my number pad and just create a path from that point to this point. And if you would like to, you can also go to the edit thing and curve this some one way or the other. I mean, it's up to you. And we're going to want to select a brighter color as well. I actually have it already selected, but what I did, I'll just explain it. Well, actually, I'll just do it because this path is going to go away once I go to the color picker. So I'm going to click my color picker and select this color. And actually, I'm just going to switch this real quick so I have my other color saved. But what I did was I selected this color, and then I just clicked on it and brightened it up a bit, something like this. Then I clicked OK. These two colors are now similar, so it's basically what I did. And I also figured out there's a way to get your path back. So if we go back to the path tool, this little thing right here called paths, this tab I guess, you just want to click on it, left click, and then it orders them by the order of creation. So this was the first one we ever made, and the most recent's at the top, which is number 12. So if I just double click on this, my path shows back up, so I don't have to make it again. And then I can go to stroke from path, make sure it's a solid color, change your width to 2 pixels, click the plus sign for your line style, make sure it's on the 2 center ones to make it round, leave the rest at the default, and then just click stroke and zoom in, make sure your path looks okay, looks fine I guess. Now you're going to go to the bucket tool and fill in this area, and it kind of makes like this jagged line here. I'm going to try to fill it again, see if it slowly goes away. And the first time it kind of went away a little, but we can fix that by making another path and then just going along this edge. I guess we could just do it right here. So what we're going to do is make a path along this edge, fairly close to it but not too close to it, from here to here, basically like what we did to make this this path to begin with. Go to the edit, curve it some until it's curved to your liking, maybe a little less, and we're just going to stroke the path 2 pixels again, and that didn't seem to do anything, so I'm going to Control Z. Well, it did a little bit because I saw a little change right there, but we got to move this closer so that we can actually get this fixed here. If I do stroke path now, So that looks a bit nicer, it seems, except for up here. So I'm going to pull this a little closer. Stroke path again. That lightened it up some more, so we're getting there. Bring this up a little, I guess. That's probably not going to be the best idea, but we'll see what happens. Now if I just get off the path tool for a second to look at what we have. That last one kind of messed it up a bit, so I'm going to Control Z a couple times. So that this line's pretty good. So we can actually do a partial path now. We just need to fix down here a little and up here. So we can just make a new path to try to fix those two segments from here to here. And I'll take a look at that. That looks okay, but I should probably curve it a little. So I'm going to Control Z. Control Y, I think, is to redo. Right, what's redo here? Edit. Yeah, Control Y, well, yeah, Control Y is to redo, Control Z is to undo. So I'm going to go back to that path real quick once I get the path tool. Whoops. Going to edit it and make a little curve so it doesn't destroy that area right there, and then take a look at what we have. So that's a bit better. It's not perfect, but you get the idea of how to fix this. I'm just gonna keep doing the same process. You know, it may not explain it quite as much here. I'm just gonna go until the problem is solved, I guess. So that looks pretty good right there. And we can do it down here too to fix this, because it just makes this really nasty jagged edge and it doesn't look so nice. So we're going to try to fix it a little. I guess that probably will look fine. That's not terrible, so that's going to be good for now. We can fix the inside, but that's something that I just may do off camera. Again, what I would do is use the path tool to fix it, but I may just take the time and do it, you know, while I'm not recording, so that it doesn't take so long. But to make this other curve, what I did, this other curve up top like this other curve, as well as this one right here to kind of give it some life. I used the same color, but I also did the path tool again, and I started basically up here, and made another point over here, and then another point, and then a final point over here. And when you're done with your path, you hold Control and click on the starting point, and that will connect the two ending points together. And then we're going to click on the center on both of these to create two new points. Go back to Design, hold Shift, and click this one so that they're both selected, and then we're going to drag them out to curve them. Something like this, and then you're going to go to Stroke Path, 2 pixels again, and Stroke. Grab your bucket fill and fill this area, and that's basically what I did. So that's that. That looks pretty decent. You're free to make adjustments to it if you want. That looks fine to me. Just doing a comparison. And then you want to go to your path tool again, and I'm going to make another path right here. Same process. Make 4 points, and we're going to curve it slightly. There's a very slight curve on this one. It's really not anything serious, but just hold Control to join up your 2 endpoints, and then we're going to make 2 center points again. Go back to Design, Shift click so we can move both of these together. Stroke the path and go back to your bucket fill in this area. We're gonna have some more gray color here. It's all messed up again, so we gotta go to your brush tool, change your brush to this big circle, hardness 100, size of 4, you can change it to 4, and I don't think I changed anything else really. I think that was it. So then you can zoom in with the plus key. Whoops, I still have this selected so it won't let me do it. I guess I'm gonna have to click on this the picture so I can zoom in with the plus key, and then just start painting away all this discoloration. That should be good. So that looks fairly nice now. We're starting to get more contrast. Things are starting to stick out more. It looks a bit more like a rim. So things are going good. We're going to go back to our layers. Take a look at the picture again. Look for the details that we're missing so far. We do need these holes here, as well as the bolts or whatever they are. So it's basically a circle that starts right here, I guess, is how we set that up initially. So we need a circle right there. So we're going to go to our ellipse tool, I guess, and make a circle. Just click and drag, hold shift to make a perfect circle, then let go. We're going to adjust some of these. We're going to make this 1024 by 1024, which should be the center of the image, but I guess it's not for some reason. Maybe because the layer is looks like the layer maybe is bigger than the image. So I'm just gonna click on this layer real quick, right click, do layered image size. Maybe that was the problem. Yeah, and that, well, maybe. Okay. Try this again. I'm gonna click off the circle tool, go to select, none, still have my circle tool. So I'm gonna make a new circle, hold shift, try this again. I don't think it's gonna do anything different. That's strange because this should be the center of the image, I would think. But that's alright, we're gonna have to move it anyway, so I guess we're gonna go to the move tool. Well, I don't think, can we move this circle? No. So I'm gonna do Control Z. And we actually should probably make a new layer real quick, just so we don't mess anything up. Just right click, new layer. All the default settings are fine. And we're just gonna fill this in with, let's see what color. We need like a darker color. We could just color pick this other one, or we can just make a new one, I guess. I'm gonna switch these two colors so we save our other color and just make something a bit darker, something like that. Fill in this area. It's probably a little too light. Make it a bit darker. Control Z to get rid of that color. Maybe it actually is going to have to be a little lighter because this background color is the way that it is, so We'll make it a little lighter for now. We can always change this, I guess. Just so we can see it, see what we're doing. Then go to the move tool. I'm just going to change this to move active layer so I don't make any mistakes later on. And this circle actually is like way too big, to be honest, but maybe we can scale it down. So if we go to layer, transform, scale layer, yeah, scale layer. If we make it like half the size maybe, so like 1024, and it'll, since it's linked, it'll automatically change the height to 1024. So just make sure they're both the same. Click scale, we'll see what happens. That's probably a bit more reasonable. And then we're going to go layer to image size, so it resets it back to the original size. Like you can see the border now is the way it should be. So we're going to make sure you're on the move tool. We'll position this again, something like that. And that'll be our little circular hole for the bolt or whatever, lug nut, whatever you call it. To make that actual thing, I mean, they're six-sided. There is an inner circle, an inner white circle there that we can make. So we can go to this selection thing, color selection, click on this, then go to select, shrink, and do like 10 pixels. Whoops. And looking at it, like the part of the circle gets cut off because of the angle of your view. Like almost, it doesn't matter like which one you look at, they all get cut off to some extent just because of perspective, the view from the camera. So we can sort of mimic that. But first we'll just pick a white color for that inner part. So I'm going to change this color to a whiter color, something like that. And then do layer, well, select actually. We're going to shrink it a little more, like 4 pixels. And then we're going to do border of like 4 pixels. And that's probably not going to work. So I'm going to Control Z twice. And now try border of like 2 pixels. That looks like it'll be... We probably should do 1 pixel. So I'm going to Control Z until it goes back to that circle. Do border again and try 1. The difference between 1 and 2 pixels is like... Seems like it's more than it should be. So I guess I'm just going to do 2 pixels because it really doesn't show up with 1 pixel. Whoops. I just hit enter. Oh, I guess that turned off this thing by hitting enter. So learned something new by accident. So I'm going to go to the bucket fill tool and just fill in this area and see how it looks. By going to select and then none. And not really happy with that. It's too big, to be honest. So I'm just going to Control Z to get rid of that. And we'll try 1 pixel. So I just hit Control Z a bunch of times. And we're going to do a 1 pixel border. I wonder if you can do like 1.5. Let's see what happens. I guess you can do 1.5. So I'm going to Control Z and we're going to try like maybe 1.2. See, that's really weird. It just makes it stupidly small when you anyway, we'll try it this way and see how it looks. And that's going to look terrible because it's all jagged. So that's what I wanted to try to avoid. I think it just rounds up is what it does. That's why. Because this looks exactly like 2 pixels. Yeah, it just rounds up and down. So that's kind of misleading. So I guess we're stuck with either 1 pixel or 2 pixels, and I don't really like either of them. So 2 pixels I guess it is. And I'm just going to select none. And we'll change it later, maybe, because that doesn't look too good. It actually looks quite bad. So we'll just try 1 pixel one last time. And take a look at it from a distance, because I didn't really take a look from a distance. I guess that's not horrible. Yeah, I guess that's fine. So 1 pixel will be okay. And to make this, I guess we'll just try to make this hexagon here. I don't know if they probably don't have any preset like hexagon things that you can have. That would be nice, but we're just gonna have to eyeball it probably with the path tool or something similar to the path tool. So I'm going to just start making a hexagon as best as I can. And you can always adjust these. So I'm going to do Control and join these, but I'm going to adjust these because they don't look symmetrical by any means. So definitely not the best hexagon in the world, but you know, it's gonna have to do. So I'm just gonna shift click all these and try to move it because it's not really centered. And it again has like this white outline, this white ring that we'll have to use the border thing for. So maybe we'll just make this path real quick. Do 1 pixel and stroke it. And that's actually not that bad, I guess. Maybe if we do it again to try to darken the lines. Take a look at that. That's not bad actually. That kind of looks like that thing there to some extent. Then the bucket fill tool, we're gonna make the inner darker color. So we're gonna change this color to something else and just fill it in. And there's like this little highlight on the center of it because it's kind of sticking out further than the rest of that little bolt area. You can see it on all of them. The center is like catching the light a bit more because it sticks out more. So we can just do it with a brush tool because it's not going to be a perfect circle because the way the light catches it, you can see it's not a circle really. It's more like it's curved a little bit depending on where the light's coming from. It changes how it's going to look. But we're just going to make them all the same, but we want to do it by hand because it's not going to be a perfect circle anyway. So I'm just going to change this to 2 pixels. And I'm probably going to change the opacity down to something lower. Just so it's not like overwhelming the whole thing and make a nice lighter color. I'm not sure what's going to look nice, so I'm just going to play around with this, see what we get. I'm just clicking around and taking a look at it. See, it's going to have to be more like a smooth stroke, I think. Something like this. It's got to be more rounded so it looks like it's actually the light that's catching it. I think I should probably turn the opacity down and try again. It's not like, it shouldn't be this much of a difference in the contrast. So I just did Control Z like a million times to get rid of all my stuff, and I'm gonna try again. Try just doing whatever and hoping it looks okay. So comparing it, I'm just gonna keep trying a few things. One more time, and then I'll let you experiment on your own. Different colors, and well, actually that looks pretty bad, so I know I said one more time, but one more good time that actually looks decent. And maybe put some highlight on the bottom just for no reason really, with a lower opacity. That's not bad. I went around it with the same color with like basically no opacity just to give it some more interest there, and that's not terrible. But I wonder if we can kind of hide this more. Should be able to like smudge, lighten the color a bit. I'm not sure how to do it in GIMP, to be honest. So for now I'll probably just leave it, and I'll try to figure it out when I have some time, how to like make it more opaque so it's not showing so much. That's basically that for that part. We can make a little highlight around the edge to make this part stand out a little more, to make it look like it's actually an indent rather than just a circle. So we can go to our color picker, select this color, and do select shrink by like 2 pixels, and Control Z that, because we got like this. Yeah, we probably should have made this on different layers, but we'll just go to select none, and in this settings we're just going to increase the threshold to like the max, and then click this so we get the whole circle. Then do select shrink 2 pixels, select border 1 pixel, and I guess I didn't do what I wanted, so I'm going to do Control Z twice and then do select border 1 pixel, and we want just a brighter color than whatever this was, so we're going to do color picker, select this color, brighten it up a little to make it look like the light's catching the outer edge of it. Go to the bucket fill, click, take a look at it. Something like that. That's not terrible, I guess. That's alright. That'll do. it'll get us by. And we can start, I guess, maybe making this other centerpiece, perhaps. So it's like a black around the outer part of it. And then again, it's got the highlight just around it where the light's catching it. And then this other part right there, that's kind of a different color than the rest of it because it's angled differently. So for now I think we can leave these as two separate layers, like this part and then this part. And we're going to right click and do new layer, click OK, and we'll make a center thing here, a circle. So go to your ellipse tool, left click and drag, hold shift to make a circle, and I guess we can just position it by eye, maybe. Well, we could use the anchor thing in a second, I guess. Well, this darker color actually might be good enough for that outer darker color. So we can just make this white color maybe. So we can do select border 2 pixels this time and fill it in with a nice lighter color for that center ring, and the outer ring will just be the background there, and we can lighten up the rest of it in a minute. So now I'm going to go to select none, I guess. Go to the alignment tool relative to the image, I guess. And then we're going to select this layer. And doesn't seem to be aligning it at all. Maybe we did need the selection, so I'm just going to Control Z till we get our selection back. There's our selection. We're still on the alignment tool. We're going to click on the selection, try to align it. I always forget how this works, this alignment tool thing. Yep, not really sure here. I'll figure it out at some point, but for now we'll just try to align it by eye. Maybe it's already aligned, who knows, I'm not really sure. Maybe it is already aligned and it's just right where it needs to be. So now we can go back to our selection thing, color selection, and select that. It's already selected for me. And do select grow by 1 pixel. And I'm not sure how to like deselect this center part of this because I don't want it to fill in the whole thing. That'll probably work actually. I just did select border, set it to 1, and it made a border for both of them, so that works out. We can just delete the other border. Well, actually, I forgot that this is we already made that black part, so we're gonna have to do select grow by maybe like 4 pixels, and then do select border like 2 pixels, or it's probably too much. Select border 1 pixel, I guess, just for the outer glow. And I'm gonna make it a darker color than the one we had. Use the bucket tool and try to fill this in. And do select none, take a look at it. And that looks somewhat like what we want, but I think I want this to be a lighter color, so I'm going to Control Z until I undo the color part and make this a bit lighter and see what happens. I like that. That looks nice. So we're going to stick with that. It looks similar to what we have here. On this one, it looks like we have sort of a carbon fiber pattern, back and forth type deal. We can probably do something like that with this. It's basically like a straight gray line repeated over and over again from side to side horizontally, or I guess vertically, since this wheel is kind of, because if you look at the logo, it's actually supposed to be like this, so it would be more vertical. But if we just keep it horizontal and then we make the logo also at the side just like it is, then it should be fine. So we can always rotate our image later, and the spokes are going to be the same no matter what. So we're going to try to make that horizontal gradient, or whatever it's called. We'll use probably the rectangle select, and we'll make a new layer. So right click, new layer, click OK. We're going to want to select like this inner circle somehow. So that we're limiting our drawing to that inner circle. I wish I was a little better at selecting all this kind of stuff. So maybe if we just fill this in with a color real quick, which we can undo later. So just pick a random color, go to select none, and fill this in. It'll make it so we can select. And then if we go back to the color selection and select this, whoops, the threshold's too high, so we gotta set this down and do select none and then select it. So there we go. That's how we can do it. And then if we just press delete, it'll get rid of it later. So we can just use it now for selection purposes and delete it later. But actually the red doesn't look too bad, I don't think, but it's just for selection purposes right now. So go back to your other layer, and we want to well, we're gonna need to make a new selection with this, so I'm not sure if that's gonna help or not. I wonder if we can make straight lines with the path tool. So I'm just gonna hold shift or something, and nope, that didn't work. Maybe not the path tool. We'll just do it with selection tool and try to figure something out later. Make a straight line across that's longer than the left to right here, and then we're going to fill it in with a gray that's not 100% opacity. So we're going to go to the bucket tool, lower the opacity, choose a gray color, maybe this gray color, but actually I'll just make a new one because I think that's the one I saved. So you may not have that color. So something like that, click OK, and fill that in. And that actually doesn't look like it's only 50% opacity. Maybe it is, I don't know. Okay, now that I'm moving it, that actually looks closer to what we want. So something like that. And just move it around. And I have move active layer on. That makes it a lot easier when you're dealing with a small layer like this. So I mean, we could count these and try to figure out how many there are, but I think I'm just gonna eyeball it in this case. And I'll start up here with it and then click on my layer, Control D to duplicate. That didn't duplicate it, so I'm going to close this because I guess that's the wrong shortcut. What is it? Shift D, Alt D? I think try Alt D. I forget all these commands. Shift D. Nope. Alright, well, it's enough attempts. We're going to right click on this and duplicate layer. And then go to the move tool again because I messed up stuff. And we're just going to drag it down a little bit. It looks like I'm leaving 1 pixel between them, and I think that's probably going to be fairly accurate. So I'm just going to keep duplicating this. Maybe it's Control Shift D for duplicate. I think that's probably it. We'll try that this time. So Control Shift D. There we go. I forget these commands. So I'm just going to keep doing Control Shift D and leaving 1 pixel between each one of these things. And when we're done, we'll just merge all these layers together so that we don't have a billion layers. So just continue doing Control Shift D, dragging down your selection, making sure there's 1 pixel between each of them, and as long as left to right it covers beyond that red circle, you're all set. And I think what we can do is eventually we can put this layer of all these things underneath the layer for this circle, and then just erase everything to the left and right of the circle, and then the circle itself will hide any imperfections in this area. So you'll see what I mean if you don't really get what I'm talking about just yet. You could, of course, just have merged some of these together and started moving 2 at a time, 3 at a time, 4 at a time, which probably would have been a little easier. But at this point, I'm just gonna finish. Well, actually, I'll show you what I mean by that. So what we can do is just start merging these down. So right click, do merge down, right click, merge down, right click, merge down. Just continue this for a little while. That's probably good. And then Control Shift D to duplicate that layer. And now you see we have a bunch more of them we can move down. So it's like 1,000 times faster than doing it one at a time, and just continue doing that till you're done. Control Shift D and moving them, just like we did before. So that's actually pretty good. That actually looks nice. So now we're going to want to just merge them all together. So right click, merge down, right click, merge down, and we're just going to continue doing this until we get to the very last one. I'm not sure what the last one was actually. It's probably quite a few of these. So it's going to be layer 29. Layer 29 is the last layer, so we get quite a few to go. We're just going to right click and merge down until we get down to that. Just be careful not to merge this other layer. Yeah, this is why it would have been a lot easier if I had just made a couple and then merged them together and done it the way I did it at the end, but we don't always do things the perfect way, and it's not about doing things perfectly, it's just about getting the final results you're looking for. Even if it does take a little longer, at least you got what you're looking for. I mean, very rarely are you going to ever do things perfectly the first time, so you're just going to have to deal with imperfections like this and working through them. And actually I may have gone too far, right? I did go too far? Yeah. So I'm going to do Control Z a few times to get my layers back. So yeah, 29 is the one you want to stop at. You can do Control Z to undo those merges if you accidentally merge too many. So now what I meant is this layer is the one that has all that stuff. So if we just take layer 29, and I think we can just drag it, click and drag it below layer 28, and then click on layer 28, go to this thing, selection tool, select our red color, which we actually never even needed, delete it with the delete key. So now you can see we have our nice pattern below it. Go back to layer 29, go to select, choose none. Well, we could actually do go select and grow instead while we still have this selected. Select and grow it by 2 pixels, and then do select invert to select this outer part, and then go to your, and just actually we can just press delete and that'll get rid of all the stuff outside that area. And now we have that nice pattern on the inside like that. And if you weren't following entirely, or if you did select none and you messed it up, you can either do Control Z to get back to that point where you have that circle selected, the red circle we had, or you could even just make the red circle again. You could grab the bucket tool and fill it in on layer 28. So there's a couple options to get to this point if you made a mistake. So now I'm just going to do select none. This looks good. This looks relatively close to what this looks like, even though this picture is a little fuzzy at the moment. So that looks decent. We could even lower the opacity on this layer, and so that the pattern's not as visible. So it's more like this. It's kind of a styling thing. It's up to you if you want them to be more or less visible. I kind of liked it when they were more visible, just because it lets you see that they're actually there instead of with less opacity from a distance, you can basically not even tell that that pattern is there. So it's up to you. You can adjust the opacity or just leave it to 100% if you want. And now we're going to make this white symbol, whatever it is, logo, whatever you want to call it. So we're just going to grab our path tool, and actually before we go too much farther, let's just go to File Save As. Name this number 6, because I don't want to lose all this work that we've done. And we're going to make this path, so we're just going to try to go somewhat in the center of this, so that when we stroke the path, it'll make the lines left and right of this path. So I'm just clicking on points that I think are going to be somewhat important. And you can always add points later, like I'll probably add a point there, but when you get to the end, control click the start point. We can do our editing by going to the edit and just start moving these around until you get the shape that you want. And you can go back to design and change some of the points if you think they're slightly off, or even if they're a bit more than slightly off, you can still change them. So that looks pretty decent. I don't think this is a straight line though. This should probably be a little curved, just because like it's gonna look weird. I know it's gonna look weird if it's totally straight, because the rest of the object is or the curve is, the rest of it is curved, and having one straight edge would just look really weird. So then we can choose a color. We're going to want a white again. We actually want the same white basically as this, but we could color pick it, or we can just select a color and see what happens. But actually we want to, before we do this, turn that off. And which layer do we want to do this on? We can actually do it on a completely new layer. So we'll just right click at the top, new layer, click OK, and I'm going to move this layer down. So just left click on it, drag it below the McLaren thing. And then I'm going to, like, this doesn't look centered at all. We're going to have to move it. That's okay though. So we're going to just do stroke path, 2 pixels, and click stroke, and do it again to see if it'll darken it up a little. Turn off some of this stuff to take a look at it. That's okay, I guess. It's not as clean as I was hoping it would be, especially up top here. So I'll do Control Z a couple times just to get rid of that, and try to figure out why that looks kind of crappy. See if something like that will help. We'll take a look at it from a distance. So I'm just gonna pick a different tool. That's not that bad, except this needs to be more of a point. So I'm going to do Control Z until I get rid of it. Go back to my path, go back to the path tool first, double click my path. This needs to be more of a point, so more like I had it originally. Hopefully it doesn't look like crap again. Make sure you're on layer 30 when you're doing the path, and then click off of it. So that looks good. That looks actually pretty close to that right there. That looks pretty good. The only thing I would want to do with this layer, make sure the layer is selected, and move active layer, is just reposition this to the center of this thing. So it looks like that. It looks pretty good. and then just do layer to image size so it's the same. And I think some of these other ones may need it too, like this one, layer to image size. Like in the way you know is like these black and yellow dots don't line up with the image, so you just go to layer to image size. That'll fix it. You don't have to do it with all of them, but I just find it makes it a little easier. I think the rest are fine, so this is starting to look pretty decent actually. This logo and everything looking pretty close to what we're supposed to have, so it's turning out pretty nice. So for now I think we're going to be good, and I'm just going to save it. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to save over number 6 because we didn't really change a whole lot. You can make a new one if you want, but I'm just going to leave it at 6, so because I'm not worried about the couple changes that we made. So I'm going to save it as number 6. It's going to ask if I want to replace it. Yes, I do. Because the new layers that we added, we could just easily remove them. Like all you'd have to do is like this, and those layers would be gone. You'd be back to basically what we had before. So that's the benefit of doing it on multiple layers. So just make sure you go to File and save it, number 6. You can make it number 7 if you want. I don't think it's necessary. And then we can start mirroring this more, duplicating it more, so we have the whole wheel, get a nice look at the whole thing, and probably maybe do a dark outline on the bottom of this just to separate this part from the rest of the rim, to make it look like it has a little bit less light, because this part would be like in towards the car and it wouldn't be getting illuminated as much. And we can just work on the rest of it as we go. So that's going to be it for now. Just make sure you save it. File, Save As, number 6, and we'll continue with the rest of it.